Welcome to EJH Bridge Cars. So I decided it was time to tune up the truck because it had been a long time. I don't do many miles on that truck, maybe 600 a year, so it goes a long way between servicings, but it's been a long time. And the plugs, when I pull them out, the electrodes look good, but the bodies are actually getting rusty, so they've probably been in there 20 years. I decided to improve it with electronic ignition, so I bought a Pertronix small block Chevy distributor to put in because, the old distributor is pretty old anyway. And when I read the directions, it says, do not use solid core wires, which is something new to me. I've not seen that before in any of the other instructions that I got from Pertronix, but things change. So I bought a set of spiral round 7mm spark plug wires, which are Pertronix brand, which will fit in a standard small block old style Chevy distributor cap. And that's why I want to put those on. And that's why the truck's on the lift, because the front 4 cylinders, the spark plug, that truck originally had buckhorn exhaust manifolds, so the spark plug wires come from the bottom up. So there's clips bolted to the side of the block where the oil pan meets, just carrying the wires. And the easy way to get at them is to put the truck up on the lift rather than crawling around on the ground in the dark. So I've done that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change out the wires on the plugs. I bought new plugs for it too. And then we'll swap out the distributor. So let's get started. Well, there you can see the wires. They come down. I pulled them out of the clips, but they're right there over the top of the starter. The clip on the block, and the same thing on this side. There you go. You can see them running up there, and there's the clip exposed because I already popped them off. So that's why it's easier with this thing in the air to deal with this. I changed out the first 4 plugs, and you can see they don't look too bad, but they are getting rusty on the outside, and they're all about the same. Not gas fouled, not oil fouled. They're holding up pretty well considering how long they are. Here's one of the new plugs in comparison. Rather than being dirty, I think they held up pretty well. And in here, the new plug to replace. Nothing of any particular interest other than that last plug. It looks like it's in a really easy spot. You have to use a ring wrench on 13/16 because that header comes across and hits this. I suppose it probably, well, it would be hard to get it on because you'd have to kind of wind it around, and then this would be in the way, so it's just easier to use a wrench. Here you can see they're gap 35 thousandths. Pretty much come from the factory like that, but a couple of them are thousandths or 2 off. Not that that's that critical. This side's a little harder to get to just because of the heater box, but still not that bad. So I use a stool. Can't quite reach. So when you do these front plugs, the wires, I'm changing the wires out now by the way, go through a hole beside the engine mount bracket. And pulling them out is not a big deal, but trying to push these back through like this is really difficult. And as they sit, these are really on there, but you take a small screwdriver, this is a little pick or scratch awl, slide it down the side, being careful not to puncture the rubber like that. And then you can use some silicone lubricant and spray it in, top and bottom, and then work it around a little bit. So you're going to be able to get all the way around it. And you should find that that will loosen that up. See how easy that moves now? And you just spray that down, off it comes, no problems. And then when you go to put this back on, make sure you spray everything again because this stuff does tend to evaporate. So put it back together, spray a little bit on the end, a little bit into the cap. Go skinny end first. And just push this back on. Just like that, nice and easy. Well, it's 4:31 and I'm starting to lose light. But all the plugs and all the wires are in. They're all fed through underneath, clipped in all the various harnesses and into what's actually an MSD distributor cap, which is pretty new, which I intend to reuse on the new distributor. I tell you, I've had a couple of Pertronix distributors and I love the distributors, but their caps and their rotors, looks like the accountant's got a hold of them. And one of the rotors burnt out in like 300 miles. Anyway, so it's an MSD cap, which is a really good one. So I think I'm going to close up, put everything away for tonight. Oh, and it may not seem like much, but the TR2 was on the lift and I drove it there, all 10 feet. First time in over 30 years this car's moved under its own power. And it completed its journey without a breakdown. I kind of got rolling and I forgot to video all of this, but I put a distributor in. So the first thing I did was I had the cap off and I set the rotor so it was pointing straight back. And if you look through the wires, there's a little yellow dot on the back of the firewall. I think you should be able to see it there. So that's not the recommended way. The recommended way is to put the motor to 0 degrees, so top dead center on number 1. And number 1 is this one here. It's the first one to the left of the inspection window. Anyway, so I set it like that. That's just because it's an easier mark to aim at. And as long as you put the distributor back exactly the way the old one came out, as far as the rotor goes, you shouldn't have any issues. So don't forget that when you lift that up, because the teeth are cut at an angle, it's going to rotate, I don't know, 15 degrees or so. So if you just kind of watch where it turns to, that'll give you an idea where to start. And the reason that's all important, there's a rod with the oil pump drives on the bottom of this finger up the center, and the distributor gear has a receiver for that, or it could be the other way around. It could be that the distributor, but anyway, it's a slot that goes, it's a tank that goes into a slot. And if you don't have it in the same spot, because when you pulled that up, it rotated the oil pump with it, so it'll fall back in. If you move the motor or you get it in the wrong spot, it won't fall back in, and then you just got to kind of start all over again, which is why you're supposed to really have it at top dead center. But so is it, if it doesn't line up, you can always usually turn the oil pump with a screwdriver or something like that. Anyway, so the distributor came straight up. Oh, I took this nut right here, the bolt. That bolt right there, take that all the way out and this clamp comes off, and then the distributor's is loose and it just pulls straight up. So say gently so you don't disturb the oil pump. I thought I'd mention this is a distributor wrench. So this came as a pair, as a 1/2 and a 9/16, this being 9/16. And it actually has this that fits over it. Why they did it that way, I don't know. But this thing has actually been handy for some other things, is to put 2 socket extensions together backwards, because it's double female. And this, trying to get into under the distributor with any kind of regular wrench is unbelievably difficult, even with this one that's pretty open. These are so easy to use. You can pretty much get them as tight as you need just by hand, and you can always put the wrench in and just snug it up a little bit. You don't want to torque it down too hard, because that is a spring clamp. And I think I bought it at Harbor Freight eons ago. God only knows, I've been using it probably since I bought the truck, probably back in '95. So it's really handy. Like I say, it's a 1/2 inch and 9/16, and that covers most everything that you're going to use. Drop the new one back in. I swapped over the internal components, the rotor, because this rotor is a better quality rotor than the one that came with it, and it's a lot easier. You can see this is not exactly the best spot. I'm standing on a stool leaning over as far as I can to reach this thing, so it's a lot easier to change that when it's sitting on the bench. So I changed that over, got it back in, and I had it just right. It fell right in and didn't have to touch it. It was really kind of nice. The other thing to watch is there's a rubber gasket, a round donut type of gasket that goes against the flange that clamp's pushing against.
You want to make sure that that didn't get pulled over sideways and crimped down at an angle. You just want to make sure that it's centered when you push the distributor home. Otherwise it's going to leak oil like a sieve. And we also, of course, had to undo the negative terminal of the coil because the wire from the distributors come in there. So this distributor, or this truck, doesn't have a ballast resistor or a resistance wire or anything like that. It just takes 12 volts and it handles the voltage changes through the coil. And this is a replacement coil, but it's set up to be correct for that. So one of the things you got to watch with the Pertronix is it needs 12 clean volts of power. So if you're running through, anything much newer, this is a 1965. So if you're running through anything newer, it probably has some sort of resistance wire in the wiring harness. So you want to make sure that's true. If that is true, you need to get a hold of a switched wire, which can be the ignition wire. So usually it's the last couple of feet is where the resistance is that drops the voltage. So you just tap in before that, or you use a different wire that's on the on switch on the key. Anyway, there's probably somebody explains that a lot better. Drop the new distributor in, got it pretty close to where it needed to be. I had to do somebody had monkeyed around with this stuff, so I rebuilt this and got something that worked. You just want to set it, that bolt, just a little bit beyond finger tight, because you don't want the distributor to walk, but you need to be able to turn it to adjust it. So once we get the wires all hooked back up, and this is the power wire, it's the yellow wire. This extra red wire is the hot wire from the Pertronix. There's also a black wire from the Pertronix goes on this side, along with this wire here is an added wire I put in when I put the tachometer in. So that's a tachometer feed. And also there's a condenser mounted on the bottom of the coil. That goes on the negative side as well. So after you get all that in, make sure your timing marks are clear. See, that's set at 0 right there. That's 10. This is set at 8 degrees advance, and it needs about 30 degrees overall. So this distributor was set like that from the factory, but it's also, there's an Allen screw somewhere on that vacuum advance, so you can turn in and out to turn the vacuum advance changes. And also, of course, you really want to get fancy. I mean, if you got a motor that you're racing and high revs and all that, you want to change you're not going to use vacuum advance, and you're going to want different springs on your weights and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, but if you got a manual somewhere, it should tell you the initial timing, which is with this does not have a ported vacuum source. You see that vacuum is coming right out of the intake manifold. So you have to disconnect that hose when you check the timing, otherwise it's going to be off, because the vacuum advance will be set in and changes it significantly, like 20 degrees almost. So yeah, you want to set that. This one is 8 degrees before top dead center, and it needs 30 degrees overall, which is everything at about, I think I said 3,000 RPMs. And this is basically just a stock 283. It was called a high torque motor, which I think means it had a slightly different cam than you'd use in the car, which gave it more low end power. Or it could just be that the cam was set one tooth off, because that's the way to do that. Turning it one way gives you horsepower at RPMs, high RPMs, and turning it one tooth the other way gives it more torque at low RPMs. I don't know. It just, the valve covers used to say high torque, and it was painted a gray. Who knows? Anyway, so I got it in. I started it up. It actually started pretty easy. Just by ear, turned the timing a bit, and then put my timing light on it and set the timing properly. And that's about it. I'll let you hear it run. Starts pretty easy. Tach's working. Radio's working. The motor's not warm yet. It's only run about 5 minutes. But it sounds pretty even. So it sounds pretty good. You hear how nice and even this motor sounds. You can't even hardly feel any vibration on this. It's amazing how smooth these old motors will run. I say, this is all this stock. It's a 2-barrel Rochester, I think, carburetor. It does have 40 over pistons in it because I rebuilt it 25 years ago, and it needed a slightly bigger set of pistons. Other than that, oh, it's got headers on it because I want it. But it's a stock cam, stock intake, stock intake, stock carburetor. The ignition is electronic now, and it's got a high performance coil in it. And that's about it. It's just been a good old dependable truck. Weighs 5,000 pounds, so it's not a race truck, that's for sure. So I hope you enjoyed all that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and join, and we will catch you next time.